Well, hey, good morning, church family. It's good to see you today. As we close our Encounters with Jesus series today, I'm really excited for the speaker we have with us. He's been a good friend and a co-laborer for me in the area and is a longtime friend to many of you. He's served on staff here at Faith Church for 17 years and is now the lead pastor at Issaquah Christian Church. Would you give a big, loud, raucous welcome to Aaron Bauer today?
Yeah, that's great. It's so good to be here. It's so good to be here. I noticed at the 9 o'clock service they were awake and attentive and responsive, and now I'm looking around at you, and I think you still got it. Not the early risers, I get it. That's all right. That's all right. But it's so good. It's so good to worship Jesus with brothers and sisters who are straining to encounter Jesus. We want him. He's the goal of our salvation. He's the prize at the end of the journey. He is the way, the truth, and the life. There's no waiting. If I could convince you of anything, it's like, don't wait for heaven to experience what he has available for you today. We want to encounter Jesus. We know that we will see Jesus. And I come, as mentioned, someone else is preaching for me at Issaquah Christian Church, but that happened this spring as well, when our family was going through the thick of it, and just desperation in our family story. Your church blessed us in such huge ways. You may not even know this, but Stephen brought to us a 10-week series and helped other pastors come and preach at our church so that I could not have to try to go through the motions and actually just hit the wall and experience the grief and walk through it with my church family. So blessings on you. And as he was talking to me about coming back, I'm like, return the favor, of course. Yeah, let's finish off your series with encountering Jesus. Thanks for all your support. It's been huge. Been huge for us. But we all want to see Jesus. That's why you're here, right? And raise your hand, see if your arms work. Let's just test them out real quick. We want to see Jesus. We want to see Jesus. And when we do see him face to face, we will all be changed. Because we will see him as he is. Ooh, I want that. I want a taste of that even this morning. And I know some of you are still waiting for that encounter with Jesus. It breaks my heart. I know. Some of you are like, why doesn't he show up? Why hasn't he done that thing for me? I heard the stories. They told me. They said, why hasn't he just shown up? I get that. You're in the right place, so congratulations, step one. But it's hard. Some of you had that moment, that encounter with Jesus, and it was like that mountaintop, And then you remember way back when Jesus did that one thing that one time, and you're like, why can't that happen again? How many of you struggle with that? How many of you are honest this morning? It's not very many of you. And we want to get back there. There's something about the mountaintop that's just amazing. Now, I am a late bloomer. I just became a backpacker for the first time, and I carried my own stuff, and I went up on a mountain and through a mountain and at a lake, and it wasn't until the next day that there was a cougar attack at the lake where I camped. I mean, seriously, that's how safe I was. It was like a whole day away. But I got to sit up there and look out, and I like, wow, I want to be there, resting my back. But I want to be there because there's just something amazing about those moments. And so sometimes we have pictures, and sometimes we can look back and with a little nostalgia. I've got my computer loaded for the rainy days, for when I can look back on, summer, remember that time? That was wonderful. But what if Jesus wasn't so very far away? What if he's not exactly in, some distant, far-off place, just getting stuff ready for you? What if it's not just heaven is second star to the right and on until morning? As if in his ascension he was like physically trying to get to some other planet or something like that. He wouldn't have made it by now, by the way, and he would have been suffering from oxygen deficiency quite a long time ago. What I hope to open to you is Scripture and maybe reveal that Jesus is closer than you think. He's closer than you think. And so, Peter, James, and John had this encounter with Jesus that I think reveals how we can encounter him today. A new mindset, perhaps. And, I can't avoid it. I come to the text like this, and I have questions like you do. How far away is heaven? And what does it say about the spiritual realm around us? What does it say about the dwelling place of God, that space where God exists? Or is it a space? And does it really interact with time in the same way? Is the clock ticking in heaven somehow? Are they in a hurry? Are they busy? You gotta get things going, or is that something different? Now, Luke, as we go into this passage, has been increasingly clear that Jesus has been telling his disciples, I'm going to go to Jerusalem and die. And guess what? You, follower of Jesus, take your cross up and follow me. What an appealing, enticing opportunity. Look at that. Hey, we can all take crosses. But then, here's our text. Now, about 8 days after these sayings, he took with him Peter and John and James and went up onto the mountain to pray. As he was praying, the appearance of his face was altered, and his clothing became dazzling white. And behold, 2 men were talking with him, Moses and Elijah, who appeared in glory and spoke of his departure. Jesus is talking to Moses about his departure. The word is Exodus. Kind of fun. Play with that one, if you will. Which he was about to accomplish at Jerusalem. Now Peter and those who were with him were heavy with sleep. But when they became fully awake, they saw his glory and the 2 men who stood with him. As the men were parting from him, Peter said to Jesus, Master, it's good that we're here. Let's make 3 tents, one for you and one for Moses and one for Elijah, not knowing what he said. As he was saying these things, a cloud came and overshadowed them, and they were afraid as they entered the cloud. And a voice came out of the cloud saying, This is my son, my chosen one. Listen to him. That's good advice. Maybe a command. And when the voice had spoken, Jesus was found alone, and they kept silent and told no one in those days anything of what they had seen. Peter loved it so much, like we do. We love it. Oh, we had this moment with God. Some of you might be back here on a Sunday morning because that's the time when you get to experience something about God. Great. Welcome. You're in the right place. But I hope that's not because Monday through Saturday you didn't know how to encounter Jesus. Because there's a whole lot of week between Sundays. Have you noticed? I don't have to be a prognosticator or fully aware of your whole lives to say, last Monday through Saturday didn't go so great. Goals, plans, dreams. This is what I'm going to accomplish with my life. People are going to start responding to me. I'm going to make some headway in this area of my life. Jesus is going to show up in this thing. And so sometimes we just go bounce Sunday to Sunday, Sunday to Sunday, Sunday to every other Sunday. One Sunday a month, that should do it. Right? Well, I'm a church attender. Tell me more about that. Oh, yeah, Christmas and Easter. Yeah, okay, good. All right, interesting. Right. Peter wants to set up camp on the mountain, but we live in the valley. In the valley. Sunday may be a pinnacle for you. That's great. Some of you have had those other experiences. You're thinking, man, if I could just get back to it, that'd be wonderful. But I think we can go into this text without solving everything, although I was a little upset with Greg, Pastor Greg, that he didn't say you could raise your hand anytime with me, because I thrive on input, so, like, what's your questions? But I guess you don't have to wait till next week. But there's more going on in the passage than we're going to be able to immediately deal with, but I hope we can get some glimpses of how we can encounter Jesus. You in for that? Yeah, check with the person next to you. I'm not sure. They looked a little sleepy. Can we do this? Okay, well, let's just look at the first thing, just this radiant transformation. Okay. Jesus was transformed before them. Crazy as anything, right? This is Jesus. We've been walking with Jesus. He's been trying to get one of us to go and do his laundry for him, but his clothes are looking a little... none of us are really going to do it. Take it to the stream, laundromat, something, no. But his clothes become dazzling white. What do you make of that? Here it is. He's changed before them. His face shines like the sun. His clothes become dazzling white. Now, some of you know this, and some of you don't, and so I want to be careful. But I think it's safe to say, spoiler alerts aside, that you know that Bruce Wayne becomes Batman when he puts the suit on, right? Right? Not shocking anybody right now. And then it's interesting that Superman, when he wants to cloak his identity, his superhero status, he puts on clothes and glasses, which confounds all of us, right? I mean, I don't know. Who is he now? Because he has glasses. He becomes Clark Kent in that sense. So, I don't know. Do you think this is a Batman situation or is this a Superman situation? On the mountain where Jesus is transfigured. Votes? Anybody? Is this a Batman situation where Jesus is like, I'm now putting on some dazzling white clothes, and that should clue you. Or any votes for Superman? Just raise your hand. Any votes for Batman? Yeah, I'm not going to solve that for you today. But what I do think is this, is that, here's some of the questions anyway. Jesus has shown us something about him. The cloud, the glory, the Father, the voice has shown us something about Jesus that I think has always been true about who he is. Now, some of you have spent some time in Daniel chapter 7. Write that down if you haven't. Have fun. And call me because I want to talk about it. But let me just say briefly, this is a moment where one like the Son of Man, a human, is attacked by the beasts, but comes on the clouds to the Ancient of Days and is placed next to the Ancient of Days and is connected with the Ancient of Days as if this human is now somehow divine. And how did that happen? That is the reality. I believe that we're seeing in this transfiguration moment is the reality is that Jesus is on the throne. Now, the question for you, again, you can tease this one out, is this the pre-Christmas Jesus before he took on flesh? That's what we're seeing here? Is this the post-Easter Jesus that we're seeing here? In his resurrected glory and all that? Or, why I'm not really content to solve this for you, or is it a matter that we live out here where the clock is ticking, time and space are really necessary. I utilized time and space just to get here this morning. It was a convenient tool for a person with a body like this to manage things. But in that other space where God just is, the one who is, was, and is to come, what do they do with time there? And I just wonder, and we'll let the theologians among you solve this. I wonder. Oh, and also time travelers. If there's any time travelers, I need to talk to you. when God looks at us, does he see a moment in time or does he just see history? The end is written. Jesus Christ, living hope. I just wonder if this is a peek behind the veil into what is and always will be and doesn't need a clock and doesn't need space and time for it. It doesn't need sun, moon, and stars and seasons and all that because it just is. And I'm wondering, together with you, if you're participating, is maybe that what is that eternal dwelling place of God, the not even space, the not even the place, I don't know, where God, heaven itself, God, is that more real than what you can touch and feel? And I'm a fellow journeyman. I haven't built the time machine yet. I'm a fellow journeyman, but is it possible that what they saw on the mountain is that Monday through Saturday, what you can touch and feel is not as real as what was exposed on that mountain, what was revealed on that mountain? That the clock stops and you just engage with Jesus. And some of you have had those moments. Some of my prayer arguments with God, I don't know, they take like a millisecond. I'm such a prayer warrior, I'm just like, just out there just praying for milliseconds at a time, Sometimes my arguments with God are like that, though. And it's solved. I'm like, yeah, you're right. And I was just like, whoa, what was that about? I don't know about time. I don't know about this eternal presence of God, but I know that when we see him, we should be like him, and we're going to enjoy that. Because for some of you, the clock is ticking. Your health, the clock is ticking on your goals, your dreams, your plans. The clock's ticking. But I don't think it's ticking there. I think he just sees you. He sees your life's work complete, and he says, well done. Well done. I'm living into that as a journeyman, though. The second glimpse is the presence of Moses and Elijah. How cool is this? I mean, Peter, James, and John were like, wow, these are our heroes. I got Jesus, who we love and follow. Moses and Elijah, we practically worship them. I mean, it's amazing. Moses is the law, right? The 10 Commandments, Sinai, the Torah, the Pentateuch, the first 5 books of the Bible, that's Moses. And then you got Elijah, the prophets. And Jesus came to fulfill the law and the prophets. So imagine that conversation. How fun would that be? Like fulfill the law and fill to the full the law and the prophets. And so explaining to Moses and Elijah, do you see this? Do you see this? Do you see this? Do you see this? Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm going to go and die, and then we're going to accomplish the thing that you've all been talking about, and my suffering love is going to save the world. And they talk through these things, I imagine. Yeah, I would like to be there. Let's build a tent. Jesus, you can stay too, but I'm excited about Moses and Elijah. This is so cool. The other Bible study I would give my left arm for is the one we call the road to Emmaus. It's the post-resurrected Jesus. He's raised, and he's going along the road playing dumb, saying like, so, you guys know what's going on? What's going on in Jerusalem these days? And like, you don't know. And then he opens their minds and reveals to them and shows them, no, I'm in Moses, Elijah, David. That would be the law and the prophets and the Psalms. I'm all through there, and this is the pathway. Like, oh man. I want my brain to be lit up like that. I'm sure you do too. Then the heavenly voice, this is my son, my chosen one. Listen to him. Some of you have problems with this. Some of it's because you have a problem of intention. You have no intention to listen to Jesus, and I have to just repeat, listen to him. Good advice, too. Some of you have problems with application. Well, how do I learn to listen to him? And well, that's the life of discipleship. Talk to Pastor Greg. Talk to your small group leader. Talk to your life group. Let's walk that out. But Peter, when he saw this, he reports this in the letter that he wrote, 2 Peter 1, 16 through 18. He says, y'all know we did not follow cleverly devised myths. This is not a show. We're not just pretending. when we made known to you the power and coming of our Lord, Jesus the Messiah, King Jesus. But we were eyewitnesses of his majesty. For when he received honor and glory from God the Father, and the voice was borne to him by the majestic glory, "This is my beloved Son, with whom I am well pleased." We ourselves heard this very voice borne from heaven, for we were with him on the holy mountain. That's their report, his report. Oh, eyewitnesses of his majesty. Now, here's what I want to do. I want to read through the passage again. Try not to interrupt myself too much. Then I want to talk about some implications for our faith, and then some applications for our faith journey too. Okay, so let me just read it through. You've heard me talk a little bit about this. Now try to put it together in your mind. So the next time you read this passage with a friend, you'll kind of have incorporated some new thoughts and some new questions. Now, about 8 days after these sayings, he took with him Peter and John and James and went up on the mountain to pray. And as he was praying, the appearance of his face was altered, and his clothing became dazzling white. And behold, 2 men were talking with him, Moses and Elijah, who appeared in glory and spoke of his departure, which he was about to accomplish at Jerusalem. Now Peter and those who were with him were heavy with sleep. But when they became fully awake, they saw his glory and the 2 men who stood with him. I want to pause there because I'm not the pastor you think I am. It looks like I'm all smiles and giggles, but I'm a little pesky sometimes. When they became fully awake, they saw his glory. If there's anything we can say about the American church, is that it's a little sleepy. It's a little sleepy. Well, when I'm sleepy, I like to be comfortable. It's pretty rare, honestly, but I like to be comfortable if possible. I don't like people really waking me up. But the church is a little sleepy. When they became fully awake, they saw his glory. Monday through Saturday, it's like some of you are snoring. And I say some of you, and that's just kind of a modest understatement. That makes you think that there are some people in this room who are really doing it. Yeah, so even though I mean all of you, I'm just going to say some of you. Okay, we'll just kind of wink on that one. Some of you in this room are a little sleepy Monday through Saturday. You don't really see God at work, and besides the clock's ticking, you got stuff to do. Where is God anyway? I don't know, ruling and reigning from somewhere over there, but what does that have to do with today? That's a sleepy way to live. And I think that the enemy of our soul, who's aware of the potential in this room and on this campus, those who have me in a split screen with the Seahawks game, hello, hello, we greet you. There are some that are awakening. There are some that are like, whoa, this is real. I think this is what's realer than real is the presence of Jesus on the throne right here, right now. And then there are some that are sleeping. And the enemy of our soul he's okay with he'd be okay with a big sleepy church. He'd be okay with a huge sleepy church. Why not? It's so cute. Look at it. He's kind of want to pet its hair and look, we'll just do a little REM, you can see the movements. Oh, that's so sweet. Sleepy church, just stay down, stay down, stay down. I don't want you to know what's really going on. Besides, when Jesus did reveal, if you read the story after this, when Jesus revealed who he really was when the Father spoke, and he's been clearer and clearer about what his target is, he becomes a target. It's kind of like he's saying in the spiritual realm, this is free, this is extra. It's like what he's saying to the spiritual realm is like, you got your target? Okay, I'm going to Jerusalem, right? Because when you wake up, you become a target. When you're asleep, no problem, no worries. So what does sleepiness look like? Well, sometimes it looks like just being comfortable. Sometimes we believe the lie that, you're not supposed to talk about Jesus, right? Monday through Saturday? No, you can't do it. Now in Issaquah, where I work and serve, and people I serve, I wonder if they got the corporate memo that says, no, you may not proselytize in in the lunchroom or whatever. And then they just took that into their entire life and said, yep, we don't talk about Jesus. Except for on Sunday mornings. Hey, church, good morning, church. It's time to worship Jesus. Remember that from last week or last month when you were here last? Let's worship Jesus. Let's remember that. And then we go out Monday through Sunday. And some of us, and by that I mean all of us, have the temptation to hear the whisper from the enemy of our soul that deactivates us. So, Sunday's great. Faith Student Ministries, rocking. We had a great, it's all good, but now it's Monday. Shh. Besides, they'll think you're weird. Oh, no. Okay, I'm done. I'm out. Okay? None of that. Or, if you go on with this reality of Jesus thing, you talk about like how he's really ruling and reigning, that he is the Lord, and that you're bringing the kingdom onto that school campus. You're just saying, God, would you bring your kingdom presence as I walk into school today? I don't know how you're going to do it. I don't know who you're going to surprise with your presence, but if you got a way to use me today, just use me. Go ahead. You walk in like that? It's going to be awesome. But we're going to listen to the lie that says, you're not supposed to do that. And you're like, okay, shh, we sit down. Like, they're not going to think well of you. You know what? Your advancement on this terrestrial ball could cease in your career if you are honest about what's real. Yeah, better take a seat. Deactivate. How many of you have seen those little toys? I remember the first one that I saw was Goofy. Like Goofy, the character. It was elastic inside, and when you press the plunger, it just went. Right, like that, right? I feel like some of you are just allowing the plunger just to live like that until Sunday, and you're like, hey, Jesus, oh yeah, we worship you. You are God in this place, and you are on the throne, and we worship you, we praise you, we love you. And then Monday is like, okay, back to work, what I gotta do, right? Church, we got problems. And I think it's because we think that Monday through Saturday is what's real, and Sunday is this time that's sacred and solemn. It's just, this is where we just get cued into the truth. But the truth is that Jesus rules and reigns, even now, on the throne. Now, the enemy of your soul would love to pet a sleepy church, and he'll keep it quiet. Isn't that cute? Oh, I just love a sleepy church. But if you knew what was really going on, and this is what I think our encounter is as we go into implications, what this encounter with Jesus is like. It's like, whoa, okay, so if that's real, this is different, right? As I say to almost everybody when I'm introducing myself to them, and I ask them as many questions as possible, because I know when it comes out that I'm a pastor, it's kind of like, oh, okay, great, yeah, look at the time. But I'll press in, ask them as many questions as possible. When they finally ask me, this is what I say. I say, well, I lead a group of people, if they know where Issaquah is, I'll say in Issaquah, who are trying to take seriously the claims of Jesus. Because if he is who he says he is, we've got a lot of explaining to do. Right? And you can kind of tell I'm bypassing the hypocrisy claim. I'm like, hey, if this is true, we're all just kind of dazed and confused, and we just want to build tents on the mountain. We don't even know what we're doing. Fair. But if Jesus is who he says he is, we all have a lot of explaining to do. But when they became fully awake, they saw his glory and the two men who stood with him. As the men were parting from him, Peter said to Jesus, Master, it's good that we're here. Let's make 3 tents, one for you, one for Moses, one for Elijah, not knowing what he said. And as he was saying these things, a cloud came and overshadowed them, and they were afraid as they entered the cloud. And a voice came out of the cloud saying, This is my son, my chosen one. Listen to him. And when the voice had spoken, Jesus was found alone. And this is where I think you got it confused. They kept silent and told no one in those days anything of what they had seen. And you're like, that's my life verse. I found my life verse. It's in Luke 9:36. They kept silent and told no one in those days anything of what they had seen. It's biblical. Well, remember, this was before he died and was raised and then sent you. So here's some implications for our journey. Where is Jesus? He's here. Our God is surely in this place, we sing. And I nudge my buddy Britton and I'm like, yeah, no one here thinks that. Our God is in this place. Why are you still standing? But this was real. He is here. We're not just living with our head in the clouds on Sunday and then down in the valley during Monday through Saturday. Waiting for what? Waiting for heaven? What is heaven? Heaven is the place where God interacts with humanity. If you asked an ancient Israelite, where is heaven? They would say, that's interesting. Do you mean where do you go meet with God? I would say, oh yes, that's probably what I should have said. And they would say, the temple, hello. Eden, it's the mobile Eden in the tabernacle. It's then the permanent Eden in the temple. And then when the Spirit comes, you're the temple. How close is heaven? I think we have a down payment right here. What are you waiting for? It's kind of silly, actually. Or you've just believed a lie, and we've got to keep unwrapping that. Jesus is present on the throne. That's what the ascension says. That's when he took the throne. He's ruling and reigning now, nearer than ever. It's good for me to go, said Jesus. And they're like, no, it's not good that you go, Jesus. And he said, no, it's good that I go because then I'll send my Spirit, will dwell in you. He had to come here so that he could be everywhere. So now he's here for all time, in eternity, ruling and reigning at all times in all of your spaces and all of your places. He's right here. Some of you need him to be that close, and he is. So you just say, Jesus, I'm right here, and you're right there. I need you right now. You know what's going on. You could tell the pastor to be quiet, or maybe I can get through this, and you could just let him deal with you right now. Here's some things. When does Jesus become realer than real? Proper English would say more real than real, but I'm saying realer than real. A few things, just 5 to close. When you're on the run, Jacob, when he was running from his covenant promise, takes a nap and has a vision, and the vision is that heaven is right here, open. Angels coming up and down, God on his throne. That's what's happening right here, if you could see it. I'm not claiming that I see visually these things, but it's true. Second, when you're on the run, but also when your heart is wrung. We lost a couple of family over here. We lost our daughter, my daughter, 18-year-old daughter, in March. It was awful. And Jesus has never been closer to me than when I go deal with him about that. Sometimes kicking and screaming, sometimes just weeping, sometimes just walking. It's been a touchstone. And some of you, what you need to hear is, if you don't let him touch that pain, you're avoiding his presence. Because he is magnetically attracted to your brokenness. And you're like, nope, I'm fine, thank you very much. Go there with Jesus. This perhaps is the one that is so available that we don't even mess with it. But while his kingdom is one, this is the co-mission with Christ. With Christ. Not, I got to go do stuff, you get it done. It's a co-mission. He says, all authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me, therefore go. Make disciples, baptize, teach them to obey. And behold, check this out. Lo, I am with you always, even to the end of the age. Some of you are like, where am I going to find Jesus? Well, what is he doing? Seeking and saving the lost. So where do you think you'll find him? Math people in the room, can you put that equation together? Jesus is out seeking and saving the lost, and you're wondering where Jesus is. How could I connect up with Jesus? I don't know, it's such a mystery. Go seek and save the lost. Go be with him on that mission, and you'll find his presence. When you wonder who you're doing all this for, when the disciples wondered who they were doing all this for, he said, you did it for me. When you fed them, when you met them, when you went to prison, as I talked with a brother today, when you go into prison, when you visit me there, when you clothe me, when you bring me water, you did it to me. And you're like, well, but there's got to be another way to meet with Jesus. And I'm like, he's right there. Don't miss it. Now, faith is known for its work among the hurting, the marginalized. This is not castigating you. It's not, I'm not trying to mess with you, but I'm trying to put the dots together. That's where he is. So go after him. You want an encounter with Jesus? You go. And then when your journey is done, Jesus becomes realer than real. Like Stephen when he was stoned to death with rocks. Yeah, that's how they did it. When they stoned him to death, he had a vision of heaven just right there. I see the Son of Man on the throne. He's there because he's always there, because he's never left. He's always there with you. It's to you that he will say, well done, good and faithful servant. And it's the process along the way. He's the goal of our faith, and he is the way, the truth, and the life. Don't miss out on a glimpse of heaven now. I've got to close. But some of you are worried that you've missed him. Some of you are worried that that day that you had with him way back when is just not going to come back, and you're just going to have to live in the valley. But he's with you in the valley. As mentioned, even in the valley of the shadow of death, he's there. When the clock's ticking on your urgency and your legacy and your work that needs to get done, and it's not ticking up here. He invites you into that space to worship. He invites you in that space to do your work. My prayer, my focus has been to just try to re-enchant your world, your very physical touch and feel world, with the very real presence of Jesus. He's here to provide mercy and grace. Thanks for coming to church. Doing a little training today, how to listen to Jesus in the everyday stuff of life. My words don't do the work for you, but I pray it starts a conversation. Let me pray for you. Jesus, forgive us for our doubts. Forgive us for our unbelief. We're a weird lot in a weird world. We've believed lies about you that have kept you distant and kept us sleepy, waiting for some event in the newspaper to wake up your timeline or something. Would you rule and you reign even now? Your mercy is new for us right now. Your faithfulness has been on display for generations. Lord, I ask that you would do business with each heart today, that you would move them a step further, that you would help them know how to embrace you. Lord, if something today helps, that's great, but if you would you just surprise them around every corner with your presence and your purpose, your life, your love for them. And I pray your great blessing on this church. Lord, would you lean in? Would you find them in these moments when sometimes it just doesn't make sense and it hurts? We honor you, we worship you.